Sorry about that. Apparently, my stream wasn't showing up on YouTube and Twitch. I just fixed it, so I'm sorry for people on YouTube. Should be coming in a hot second. So, thank you, Tina, for pointing that out. If you could please let me know if everything's okay in a minute. It'll probably take a second. Sorry for the technical difficulty. Yep, it looks like it's live now on YouTube. So sorry to my YouTube audience. Okay. All good. All good. Okay. Sorry about that. So anyway, Media Matters is no longer, well, they're still operating, but they're laying off a lot of people. It's very expensive to sue, when billionaires decide that they're going to sue you for defamation and other sorts of stuff. So there's different Media Matters people who are letting folks know on Twitter, now X, that they are no longer going to be working there. And someone pointed out that one of these people, named Kat, she actually on TikTok made a video about Tucker Carlson getting fired, and happy Tucker got fired versary. And so people are noting the irony of her celebrating when Tucker Carlson got fired, and now she's tweeting out bad news. I've been laid off from Media Matters, along with a dozen colleagues. There's a reason far-right billionaires attack Media Matters with armies of lawyers. They know how effective our work is, and it terrifies them. Him talking about Elon Musk, and Elon Musk said karma is real. Now, Elon Musk is not far right, as much as he is annoyed by Biden. I wouldn't put money on him voting for Trump. He says some things that are based sometimes, some things that I agree with, some things that are kind of, on the right, but far right, absolutely not. He shared this meme one time that basically showed that he's in the same place, but the left has moved so far from the left. He's basically like in the middle, or kind of, it seems like, on the right, but he hasn't changed. The right gets more kind of to the left, and the left gets far left. So he's still the same person, which I don't know if people are the same people, that you change over time when you have family and economics and other stuff like that. So, but it is interesting. Apparently, this person also did a hit piece on Joel Berry from the Babylon Bee. So, he's, I don't know if celebrating, but just kind of like, hey, this person who came at me got fired, laid off of their job. Yeah, it's expensive to pick a fight with a billionaire. Go figure. But there is some tasty irony about it, because that's their goal, to attack people on the right, to go after their advertisers, say, hey, this person is problematic. They said this thing that is so awful. And most of the time when they repost something from like Daily Wire, Michael Knowles or Matt Walsh might be like, thanks for the promotion. Because they're like, I stand by this. This is absolutely true. But then they'll try to go after their advertisers and, say these people are too problematic, and act like they're going to get people to boycott their stuff if they don't disassociate. And so they're trying to ruin the revenue dollars that come into these companies to keep them going. So them not being able to keep their employees, who's made it their life's work to bankrupt conservatives because they picked on the wrong guy, it's kind of great. So be better people, I guess. I guess that's the life lesson. Anyway, let's move into the Sam Alito thing. So, Justice on the Supreme Court, Sam Alito, the left has been going after Clarence Thomas a lot, and they're going after Alito. But let me show you this video from the media, because they are attacking this man, and for the dumbest reason. So let me just show you this news report. which, I wrote a comment. I said, y'all are out of your minds. Here we go.
A political distress flag. Tonight, more calls for conservative Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito to recuse himself from two pending cases involving January 6th, including on the question of whether Donald Trump can be prosecuted.
The Supreme Court has chosen to conduct itself as if the judiciary is above the law.
This amid reports by the New York Times an appeal to heaven flag was flying last summer outside Alito's New Jersey vacation home. The flag represented the fight for independence during the American Revolution, but it took on new meaning in 2021 when it was seen wielded on the front lines by January 6 rioters. The revelation came just days after Alito acknowledged an upside-down U.S. flag, also carried by January 6 rioters, hung briefly outside his Virginia home, days after the U.S. Capitol siege. Alito said he had no involvement whatsoever, that his wife hung the flag amid a dispute with neighbors. Many Republicans stood by Alito today. Any concern about there being a flag there?
People who are judges on the Supreme Courts have personal lives, they have families, and I don't think they're necessarily responsible for everything their families do or say.
And the GOP is expected to block any efforts by Democrats to pass new ethics rules for the High Court, which has a code but polices itself.
There is literally no place else in the federal government in which an allegation against an official is raised and there is not even fact-finding done.
New polling shows public approval of the court has plummeted in just the last 4 years.
I think at the very least, we need more answers to questions about the second flag and about his involvement and about whether he tried to distance himself from it, because a flag outside of his house reasonably appears to represent his own views of the merits of the case.
Alito did not return our request for comment on the flag controversies, but he and the rest of the court are set to rule on two big cases related to January 6th and the 2020 election in the coming weeks, if not the coming days, Nora.
So, question, there was lots of just like normal American flags there. If they had found an American flag, even if it wasn't upside down, you could have been like, there are American flags on January 6th. It must be some kind of signal. Or sometimes people fly the same flag, or the don't tread on me flag. People flying that too. If people fly that flag, oh, it's connected to January 6th. How stupid is this? So there's people on the left who've probably never seen this flag, the appeal to heaven flag, who are so outraged, want this man kicked off the court, or they want him to recuse himself, but they really want him to just be off the court because they, of course, want Biden to replace him and replace Thomas. And they want the court stacked because they want to use judicial activism to push down all the crap that they can't get done through the legislature. That's what they want. It's just a darn flag with a freaking tree on it. And a lot of people have probably never seen that flag before, never really thought about that flag before. I've seen the flag before. The first time I think I really noticed it was there was a Republican convention, a Michigan one that I was at. And the person running for grassroots chair, I think it was grassroots chair. His name is Mark Gurley. He had that flag as a sign. Like that was his, logo kind of, because everyone has different signs with their names on or whatever. He just had this appeal to heaven thing. And I wasn't familiar with it really. I was just kind of like, why this sign with this tree? And Mark Gurley is a great guy, but very kind. And yeah, just other people within the party, not even the party, doesn't have to be the Republican Party. Just the flag was commissioned by George Washington. You'll see other people who aren't on the right be around flags like this. Like someone started doing deep dives on other flags. Like these are left-wing situations here, guys. Like Black Lives Matter, what do you see? Appeal to heaven? Pill to heaven? Pill to heaven? I mean, people hang that stuff. They keep it there. Now, maybe they didn't hang it, but they just kept it there at least. But you see the flag in places. And Michael Knowles, he's had that on his desk for a long time. He said he just got it set from Amazon. And so he said, I've had this appeal. Well, there you see, it's in the little cup there. He said, I've had this appeal to heaven flag on or near my desk since I bought a set on Amazon for $5 8 years ago. Here's a photo from an episode of The Andrew Klavan Show in 2017. Am I so hip and forward thinking that I was an insurrectionist 4 years before it was cool? Just because people did stuff on January 6th doesn't mean there's some kind of big connection. Another way that they tried to come for Alito, there was an article, I think it was came out maybe about last week. I'm pretty sure it was the Daily Beast who put out the article. And they said, Alito, he sold his stock among the right-wing, controversy with Bud Light. So, and good. He's not stupid. Congratulations. If you saw people boycotting Bud Light over the LGBT stuff and you had stock in the company, why wouldn't you sell your stock and get out of there if you could before you lose a bunch of money? Like what? He got some kind of big tip? Hey, we're all about to boycott from who? People have eyes. They could see what was going on social media. They could see what was going on in the news. There are people outside of like normal like political bubbles. Like you're listening to me, I'm talking. We probably are chronically online. But I went to a meeting during the whole Bud Light stuff, and we're like raising funds for veterans and stuff. And someone was like, they were talking about what kind of alcohol they're going to have for the open bar. And someone was like, don't use Bud Light. And people started laughing. And these people, they're political, but not chronically online political to be plugged into every little, conservative, do this, do that. But it had permeated outside because people were aware that the brand was damaged by this. So people trying to throw something out there like it's so strange, so nefarious, like there could be some kind of there. Because he sold his stock at an obvious time when you would probably sell the stock. But they just want this man off the court so bad. They want Thomas gone too. And I don't know why they're so pressed about the immunity case. From the arguments, it didn't seem like, Trump had great arguments to make. I don't know how they're going to kind of address it. It'll be an interesting read for sure. But the media, they create these controversies. The Democrats, of course, go along with it because they hate conservatives' guts. And then it becomes a big deal. Oh, they're calling for him to recuse himself. Oh, we have to investigate because he used this flag. It's crazy that we're not at least going to do some kind of ethics investigation about the flag, the George Washington Commission. You don't think someone, and he's old, who knows a lot about history and so on. You think it's so strange that he has a flag that says an appeal to heaven. That is so strange to you. That he's making some kind of statement about January 6th. Because other people on January 6th had the same freaking flag. These are the same people when they hear from the river to the sea that they want to pretend like they don't know that it's a genocidal call. Now there's people who are using it who don't know what that means. Granted, they don't know which river, they don't know which sea. So there's a lot of stupid people chanting it. but they want to run excuses for their side, their readers, the people they're protecting all day long. But a freaking pine cone. That's why people ignore when people do dumb stuff about these justices or dumb stuff about Trump. Like it, once it starts adding up, they just want to give other people the benefit of the doubt and just say the media is wrong and evil and just assume that they're wrong from jump, and then they have to really, really justify themselves and prove that they are correct. Like when Trump first got in office, and after a couple of really dumb stories happened, like the Trump, oh my gosh, look at how he fed the koi fish. Dumb stories like that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to tune you guys out for a little bit because you guys are hysterical. Is Donald Trump afraid of stairs? That was a real headline. That was a real thing that they were debating, I think, on CNN. Is Donald Trump afraid of stairs? And now Joe Biden can't walk up them to save his life. Maybe he should be more cautious on the steps like Donald Trump. Anyway, you don't hate the media enough. You don't hate the media enough. And there's more. There's more reasons why you don't hate the media enough. Don Lemon, he said something about COVID recently that was pretty ridiculous. Shocker. But he was asked on some kind of podcast about the vaccines and all that stuff. And because Chris Cuomo has, I don't know, been having a change of heart on some things, and seems like he's kind of backtracking. I think he's just trying to appeal to more of a wider audience and stuff. But Don Lemon is like, no, people were selfish. They should have took the vaccine for X reason, Y reason, etc. So I just wanted to play some of this interview for you guys because it's pretty frustrating.
People seem to be backtracking on that now.
What do you mean?
The vax thing and like how the efficacy of it at the time, and how ivermectin wasn't something that people should be taking. And now Cuomo's out talking about how like, it's actually a good thing. And it was a good thing, but we were told it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? He was just on PBD's podcast talking about that.
Yeah, I don't.
And you and him were really kind of like anti, like take the thing, do it. And
well, I was pro or anti. This whole argument about vaccines is a little weird to me. Mm-hmm. Because I think people are Monday morning quarterbacking the idea of vaccines and
you mean by Monday morning?
Because remember, this was a virus that we hadn't seen before. It was it was a once in a lifetime pandemic, and people didn't know. And I think we have to give the people who are in charge, including the Trump administration, a little grace, because no one knew how to deal with it.
Stop everything. Stop. Halt. Come to a complete stop. Do y'all think Don Lemon, CNN, the media, gave Donald Trump some grace? Do y'all think they gave that man enough grace? What are you talking about? Now, at first, when the pandemic happened, it seemed like there were people who were cooperative, but mostly that was like the governors and other folks like that. The media was asking questions of like Newsom and Cuomo, like, well, how is the Trump administration doing? How is the Trump administration doing? And they would kind of say like, we know you want us to say something bad about him, but he's actually doing a pretty good job. And they would keep pestering, and eventually, like, I don't know, the memo came in and there had to be a turn to Trump bad and et cetera, et cetera. Now, Trump didn't do everything correct during the pandemic. I think he made some pretty wrong turns here, but him saying like, we need to have grace. I don't recall that kind of grace in 2020. I don't, that just doesn't seem like that was a thing. So it's really easy to sit in a podcast and say that in hindsight, you know, when I guess you don't have them CNN checks coming in, and maybe you want to appeal to as many people as possible or whatever. But that's crazy. Give him grace. Y'all didn't give him grace. If y'all gave him grace, he'd still be president. He'd still be president. The DNC, and I know they're not quite the DNC, but when they have their convention, they literally had stories like, my dad went out to go bowling because of Donald Trump during COVID, and now my overweight 50 plus father is dead, and it's Donald Trump's fault. Those were the kind of stories that they were pushing during the election, and those were the voices that were being elevated. Donald Trump is killing people. What grace? We're not going to take the vaccine. It's coming out too fast. They played a lot of politics with that. So that bit was wild. That was wild. So there's more. There's more.
And I think that our health officials and and politicians were doing what they thought was best to save the most amount of people, to keep people safe and to keep them healthy. Do they make mistakes along the way? Absolutely. But that's life. And so, you know, I think I thought that people should be doing what would, instead of being selfish for themselves, they should be doing, or we should have been doing what was best for our fellow man. I have a relative who has a compromised immune system. So whether I believe in wearing a mask or not, around that person, I'm going to wear a mask. I'm not going to be selfish and say masks are stupid. I'm not going to do it because I'm not selfish. And
sure you are, Don. Sure you are, for lots of reasons. But oh boy, the mask. First of all, not all y'all were out here wearing fitted N95 masks or whatever they're called. They were telling people to make their own masks, which my mom did, and she would just sew them with cloth, from cloth she had and whatever. But that's what we were doing. So they're not fitted, just normal cloth stuff. But the stuff that people would buy, like the surgical masks that people would buy, on the box, it says, will not protect you from COVID-19. The last time I had to wear one of those was when I went to, it was during the midterms. I went to downtown Detroit, and I went to like the city hall meeting, so I could, the city council meeting, so I could say something about the abortion bill thing that was on the ballot. And they made you wear a mask. And they had that box. And on the box, it still says it doesn't work, but I couldn't get in the building unless I wore one. And people were like, when they saw the video, like, gosh, people are still wearing masks. They wouldn't let me do anything else, guys. I had to wear it. But it says right on the box that they don't stop the spread. But if you're talking about the jab, there are people who have nearly died. There are people who have been wounded from the jab. There's people who have died after taking the jab. There was one story with this father, just his young high school son took it and he died. And he said that was his son was his best friend, and him sobbing. I don't know if I'll ever forget the way that he sobbed over that, because he said he trusted the government, and now his son is gone. His son, who did not probably need that because he's young. And I'm not saying young people couldn't get COVID, but most people didn't have symptoms who contracted the thing. And most people who the virus took out were severely old, they were up in age, or you could have, different comorbidities. Sure, that would make it so you were more at risk. But to say you're selfish if you don't take this thing, the vaccine, and we've known this for a while. I knew pretty early. There was an article that came out, might have been the New York Times, that mentioned that it doesn't totally prevent the spread of the vaccine. I mean, of the virus. And once I read that, I'm like, you can't push this as if you're being selfish if you don't take it, because if you can still spread it, you have no argument. You can take it for yourself if it's supposed to protect you. And if you're protected, why are you upset and scared about me getting you sick if you're so protected? So if you can't stop the spread, well, how is someone selfish for not taking it? And we found out more later on about how not effective it was. But I'm telling you, it was very early on when I was reading about it, and I was doing TikToks and other stuff about it. And I'm like, I didn't ask you to save me. If you take it, that's on you. But don't think you're doing me some kind of favor taking it. You're not. You're not. And even when they had high participation rate, especially like in Canada, they still wanted to punish people and force people to take it. I was talking about a friend of mine who's from Canada, tested that he was allergic to basically everything in the darn shot. And he had to get the shot for work because he worked in like the medical field, like mental health and stuff. And they're like, no, you have to. Well, they made everybody basically take it, but he was going to lose his job if he didn't take it, unless he got some kind of exemption. But the doctors, I don't know what kind of instructions they got, but they did not want to give out exemptions for the jab. And so once he tested that he was allergic to basically everything, he's like, oh, are you guys going to write me an exemption? And they're like, no, we're not doing that. We're going to give you the jab, but we're going to also have an IV to like basically fight off your allergic reaction as you take it in. That's how crazy the world was. And you can't just go around and say, I don't understand people. The truth that they were just so selfish because they just didn't comply. Yeah, these are the same folks who make the case that bodily autonomy is so supreme. And I heard this other day on a live that the day before your baby is due, that you still have the right to kill them because it's inside of you. That's the kind of stuff that people push. And there's a lot of conversations about bodily autonomy and comparing it to like abortion and COVID-19. Like, no, that's totally different. Yeah, it is totally different when you deliberately kill someone versus a virus gotcha. Totally different. Absolutely. But so many things from the pandemic just prove that so much of the left-wing ideology is just nonsense. I'm working on an article right now about the well, I guess I'm basically done with it. I just want to put it out, I guess, at the kind of right time, but that looks at the violinist argument and by Judith Butler Thompson. And the violinist argument is, if you're unfamiliar, you wake up in the hospital, the doctor's like, I'm so sorry, you've been kidnapped by the Music Lovers Society, and you're connected to the world's most famous violinist, and they need to be plugged up to you for 9 months, and if you unplug, they will die. And the pro-life usually tactic is to just compare it to how it's not analogous to pregnancy, it's too different, which there's a lot of ways that it's not the same at all. Like, one, abortion deliberately kills. In the violinist situation, if you did unplug, the illness is what's actually killing the violinist, but the purpose isn't to be like 100% close to pregnancy, because she even like adjusts like how long you'd have to be, plugged up, etc. The point is to test the ethic of your right to life doesn't include someone else needing to take care of you, basically, and you have no right to use someone else's body to sustain yourself. So I think the real problem with the violinist argument is that it has no bearing in the real world, because I don't need a hypothetical to know that people think that you have to comply and save their life when it's at risk because they coerce people into getting the darn jab. And that's only one example, but it's a very recent example where they said this virus might kill me or might kill my grandma. I need you to compromise your body to make me feel better. Or we're going to, make it so that you can't go to school, even online. You can't participate in this college if you're not jabbed. That you can't go to work, you can't have your job, or you got to be tested a bunch. Healthcare, you have to take it. You can't go to the restaurant. You can't go to the bars, you can't listen to music. Do you guys remember there was a church? This is before there was the vaccines out, but there was a church. I think it was in Texas. It was either Texas or Florida. But people were listening to the radio at the church in the parking lot, and they came around and gave them like citations or whatever. And they were just listening to the church service in their cars in the parking lot, and they still got fined. So they fined all kinds of people for going to church. Fortunately, like, you weren't supposed to really do it in Michigan, but they said that there wasn't going to be any fine or anything. I'm like, okay, if you're not going to punish us, I'm going to assume that you don't want that smoke. So we just kept our doors open the whole entire time. But they took away all your freedoms for the COVID vaccine. Joe Biden literally got on TV and said, this isn't about your freedom or your personal choice. So Don Lemon is just wild. He's just selfish. People are just so selfish. What if people are concerned about what happens if you don't stand up for yourself and you don't stand up for your country? I didn't realize how far gone we were until COVID. And I'm not saying there's no way back or, no way we can kind of rectify the situation. And I don't know what kind of reckoning we're going to have, because Trump did play a hand. He didn't do all the crazy stuff that Biden did, obviously, but he did play a hand in it. So I don't know how much he's gonna want to go after Fauci and other folks, because he had a hand in it. But I was surprised how willing people were to lay down and take it and let their freedoms, just be gone. And people still insisted after the inconsistency of, hey, how dare you guys go out and protest about how you want to keep your job? And then, people went out and protested BLM. And there was all these doctors that said, well, don't say the pandemic is a reason why people can't go protest, because this is just too important. Well, maybe life is too important. Maybe living life with your family is too important. Being with grandma, being with that person who's maybe deteriorating with dementia, and seeing them, so by the time you see them a year and a half later, that they're not so far gone. Maybe it's worth it to have a little bit of that time left. Maybe it's worth people being able to go to their kids' graduation. Maybe it was worth going to people's funerals. Maybe it was worth that. You guys can have, you can have multiple funerals for people like George Floyd, but there's people who couldn't go to their own family's funerals. They did keep them very limited. There was a church member of ours who passed away. That funeral was very limited. I got to go because I was the singer. We did terrible things. And Don Lemon can say, we just never saw anything like this. There's literally, like, I know it was bad, but I wonder how much of it was just hype. There's literally an episode of Dead Zone. That show is old. That used to be on USA. That talks about a coronavirus from China, and the solution was like chloroquine. And it's very eerie watching it. And it's not because they can predict the future. It's not because, which is funny because the guy could actually see the future, and that's how he found out like the cure or whatever. Well, it's not really a cure, but it helped like the antibodies or whatever. But the reason why it was so accurate is because the writers just did a lot of research from data that the CDC and other folks had. So Fauci already knew about herd immunity. Fauci already knew that masks and other things don't work. You can go look at interviews prior to COVID and how people should actually act in these kinds of situations. There was a choice that we were going to do everything wrong, that we were going to do everything bad. There was a choice. I'm going to play a little bit more of this interview.
I love that person. I don't know if the person I'm standing next to in the grocery store, or if I'm in the post office, I don't know if they have a compromised immune system. I have someone who's on my staff who still wears a mask, and someone came in and said, why is she wearing a mask? And I had to tell that person she has lupus. And so if she got anything, a cold or anything, it's going to affect her in a detrimental way. So I think that people who are questioning the use of masks, even in the moment, we're being a bit selfish.
Listening to Como speak and listening to like a lot of what people are talking about now is saying that like they knew that there was other methods that people could have done, like ivermectin was one of them. That
I don't think they knew that ivermectin. Ivermectin was not was not meant for COVID. Has not been tested for COVID. And so people pushing back on ivermectin, I think it was the right thing to do, because there was no medical evidence that ivermectin could help save people from getting COVID or prevent them from getting COVID or had any effect on the COVID-19 vaccine. So what our health officials, what I believe in medicine, I believe in science, and I believe that my government is looking out for me and trying to do the best for me.
That's because you're a sap.
A vaccine that was actually that Donald Trump helped to facilitate, and Donald Trump was not a candidate that I really respected. Yeah. Even with him, I thought that I believe that my government is looking out for me. And so if scientists, if doctors, if virologists are telling me that this vaccine is safe, and that ivermectin has no effect on the COVID vaccine, then I'm going to believe
on the COVID vaccine or the COVID virus.
Well,
because the vaccine.
I'm sorry, not on the vaccine. Yes,
right.
on COVID, and then I'm not going to. I'm going to believe in the science, and I'm going to believe in the doctors.
Which is fine, but shouldn't other people have the right to like not take the vaccine? And not be like forced to put something in their body that they didn't want? Yes,
you're an American. You have the right to do that. But
it seemed at the time like media was really like shaming people of like, if you didn't get a vaccine, like it's your fault.
No, I don't think. Well, I don't know if the media was shaming people. I think what people were saying was, I think people were being selfish about that. If you don't get the vaccine, then don't get the vaccine, but don't expect to be able to do and go places where people who got the vaccine.
He's lying. That is such a lie. I actually didn't get to that part at the end. Oh my gosh, he's lying. Oh my, there was a super cut that I oh gosh, of the vaccine stuff that let me see. Did I bookmark it? Y'all know he's lying. I don't even have to play a video for you guys. Y'all know he's lying. Don Lemon specifically is lying about this. I don't know if people were shaming. Oh my gosh. He's lying. Let me see if I can find this video. Oh gosh, I don't know if I saved it. It was just a super cut of the media literally just shaming people about the vaccine. Don Lemon included. Gosh, I'll have to put this up later and edit it in or something. But he's lying. Oh my gosh, he's lying. If Don Lemon can lie that much and he's supposed to be a news media man, why doesn't he think that the government lies sometimes? Especially because he will peddle the lies and push the lies, etc. The same people who will lie to get power. If he thinks people will lie to get power, what does he think people will do when they are actually in power? And people weren't just going to go get ivermectin and other stuff. Hydroxychloroquine is that what it's called? And other stuff. And the other thing that people were, I can't remember. They tried to stop like Florida from using the stuff, and DeSantis had to fight people to be able to use different methods for people. They didn't want anyone to use anything other than this jab. And what was crazy is they didn't have some kind of like national campaign to go work out. It was the fatties dying, and I say that as a fatty. Like obesity. That was an issue. There should have been a national sort of collective effort to try to encourage people to be healthy. And you can say, well, that's only going to work for a certain, there's not enough time. We were locked down forever. They didn't want anyone to do anything other than to take this jab. But the doctors were prescribing this stuff. Joe Rogan didn't just call up whatever. This man is a rich dude who has different folks who can tell him about health stuff. And then he took some ivermectin and they're like, he's taking horse dewormers to try to make him and everybody look crazy. But he's lying. I'm so sorry. I was pretty sure I had saved that video. I don't know where it is, but y'all know he's lying. I know he's lying. Oh my gosh. I gotta move on though. Anyway, let's talk about this Assassin's Creed thing. So I have a guest with me, my sister Tina. How you doing, Tina?
Hello. Can you hear me all right?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I can hear you. Let me get you here on the screen like that. Okay.
It's been a while since I've been on Black Tea. So
yes, it has been a minute.
Nice to be back.
So actually I called her like a little more than an hour ago. I said, hey, do you want to be on Black Tea today? And she's like, oh, let me do my hair. So by the way, I mentioned earlier that the artist for my book cover, of course, God Blatantly Gets Abortion, would be on, and that's my sister Tina. So I do mention her quite a bit, but if you didn't know, this is the artist. You can see a bunch of her art behind her. Mm-hmm. And different paintings that she has, and that portrait of Keanu Reeves, she made that herself by hand, just writing out Keanu Reeves. Keanu is breathtaking.
Keanu is Neo. Keanu is something else. I mentioned different things. Right? Yeah, Keanu is John Wick because he is literally John Wick right there. But yeah. But yes. Hello everyone. It's nice to be back.
Yeah, so she's the one who, drew the hand of God reaching out to the baby on this book. So she did a really good job. So she did that illustration, and I, did the rest of it, but the illustration was definitely most of the work there. So, but you gotta have that little last details though. But.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
No, but you did a great job. So anyway, you are on here today because I see gorgeous. Some people are complimenting you. Yes, gorgeous artwork. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you.
So Assassin's Creed, you've played this game before, and there's a big controversy about this game because we're not going to play the trailer, but it takes place in Japan, and people are like, oh, gonna have these Japanese people, whatever, and the samurai is black, and not that there's not black samurai or anything like that, but people are just expecting, you have it about these certain places, the characters are usually those certain ethnicities, and so people are like, is this kind of a woke thing going on? So why don't you briefly tell people what the game is about if they're unaware?
So Assassin's Creed, there's been 13 installments of the game. This will be the 14th one coming out. I own the first 10 and I've played the first 7. So I've basically gone through half of the series. So there are two main forces going against each other. There's the Brotherhood of Assassins, and then there's the Templars. The Brotherhood, they basically want, freedom for humanity, make your own decisions, live your own life, complete freedom and whatnot. And the Templars, they want to control humanity through there are these artifacts that had power called Pieces of Eden, where you could use it to like control people's minds or create like illusions and stuff. And so throughout history, there have been figures that have used these Pieces of Eden to control the populace. And the Templars in modern day are the heads of this global company called Abstergo, and they're in tech, they're in medicine, they're in media, and kind of reminds me of a certain two evil corporations, Blackguard and Vanguard, BlackRock and Vanguard, controlling everything. But they have their hands in everything, and they're trying to control the populace in whatever ways. And so when you play the game, you're going through, it's partially in modern day and partially in the past, because you're using this machine to go through someone's DNA and see their ancestors' memories to find these artifacts. And so when you play the game, you have to like follow the memory like exactly. If you go like off trail or kill people that are not supposed to be killed, then you have to restart the level because that's not what happened in the memory. And so that's basically Assassin's Creed. It go to various periods. The first one started off during the Crusades, and then the next three were all like took place in Rome, I think. And then it was like in the Caribbean, and then it was in America, and then and in different places throughout history. And so people have been
one in America that he was like Native American, right?
Yep, he was half Native, half English, and he was helping the American Revolution. And so people have been wanting a game in Japan for a very, very long time. And personally, I've been wanting a game in Japan for a very, very long time. So when I found out they were finally doing it, I was like, oh, maybe I should catch up and play these other games. When I found out that it was about Yasuke, the black samurai, who was not actually a samurai, he was just like a vassal of Nobunaga. So people get that fact wrong about that historical fact wrong, that he actually wasn't a samurai. He was basically a bodyguard, and he did end up fighting for the guy, but so he is a real historical figure. They're just adding this piece of fiction to kind of give him a higher status. And yeah, so based off of a real character, they're adding this fiction onto it. And recently
they don't normally do that, though. They're normally all fictional characters, correct?
No. Well, there are fictional characters, but you do interact with some historical people.
I mean, like the assassins themselves.
Yeah, the assassins themselves, they are fictional people in real settings. So that's a bit different, at least from the first 7 that I've played. And so that's a bit different. And another thing that they decided to be different with is that they announced that he is going to be a part of the LGBTQ AI plus community.
Yeah, so it's like a duo, because there is actually a Japanese girl that you can be too, right, in the game. So I read that both of them could pursue different interests. So he could be with a dude, I guess, and she could be with a lady, and so on. So but from my understanding, there's 2 other games where you can pursue same-sex relationships. So
the first one they did that took place in ancient Greece, which I'm like, okay, it's ancient Greece, I guess.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. So George Alexopoulos, who is a artist who does a lot of political stuff, and is one of your favorite artists, and you actually have a commissioned piece, not you didn't make, we got it for your birthday, that hangs in your house. He actually had this comic where it's like, oh no, someone has been assassinated, He said, "Who could have done this?" And he said, "Search for anyone out of the ordinary." So not entirely stealthy situation going on there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually for the best or whatnot, but so people, again, they wanted it in Japan. They're like, oh, you guys are just, doing this woke thing. We just kind of wanted to be normal. Like, we get that he's been brown or is a brown dude, but it's in Japan. Like, why wouldn't they be Japanese and you don't have to invoke this historical person and so on. So people have all kinds of different complaints. But when these things tend to happen, I don't think diversity people would generally mind it if it makes sense. But even if it's whatever, people sense these sort of I don't know, animosity or the agenda rather. Yeah. When people feel like we don't want these characters to be white because we don't like white people and there's enough white people get mad when you change people's ethnicities or whatever. But what really makes these controversies blow up is the reaction that the access media will have or the companies themselves will have, because IGN posted this. It said, "Let's not pretend we're mad the new Assassin's Creed Shadow Samurai isn't Asian." So
no, we're mad. Fans are very upset.
But the assertion here is, you guys aren't really mad that he's not Asian. You're mad that he's black. So that's cap. The people have been very upset about people not being Asian before, like Avatar series.
Yeah.
When the movie came out with M. Night Shyamalan, he made all the Fire Nation Indian. Because
that sounds more Asian, but
because he's Indian, so he's like, I like the Fire Nation, so everyone's gonna be what I am. But Katara and Sokka,
then they nerfed the fire bending so they could only actually bend fire that already existed.
Yeah, really crazy stuff. Really interesting decisions. Like, I really like the Kyoshi Warriors. I like them so much I took them out of the movie. Okay.
Yeah.
All right then. But when they cast Katara and Sokka, they were very fine actors outside of Avatar. They are good actors.
Yeah,
just not in Avatar. Which I'm just gonna blame. That's probably the director's fault. But M. Night Shyamalan, because she went to Bates Motel and was just amazing, and she's been in other stuff. And of course, the other one is I can't think of his
Jackson
Rathbone. Yeah. So, and he was in Twilight and other things as well. But they're good actors, just not in that film. But one of them played a vampire. That's how white he is. And
yeah,
just to let you know, Sparkle in the Sunshine, vampires. So yeah, they're really, really pale white kids, and they're the darkest. The Water Tribe people are the darkest ones on the show. So people were very mad at that, and they were mad that Aang wasn't white. What was white? Noah Ryder, I think was his name. Ringer.
I don't remember his last name.
But they were mad about him. Now I didn't really care that much because I thought he looked enough like Aang, to be honest. But it was like hashtag Aang ain't white. And so Jesse McCarthy was actually supposed to be Zuko. And so he got paid for the role. He did training and all this kind of stuff. Like, he went out into a special part of the world, I think, and did all this training and stuff. And then after they got so much backlash about Katara and Sokka and Aang, you're just kind of like, okay, we gotta change it up here. So they decided to add Asian representation instead of firing the white kids or whatever. He's like, okay, we're just gonna make all the Fire Nation Indian because I'm Indian. And so very bizarre takes there. But my point in bringing it up was people were very upset that there was a lack of Asian representation.
Yeah.
So it's
think about Scarlett Johansson being in Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
People were very upset about that.
Yeah, I which I did. That was another situation I didn't really care because I thought she kind of looked
enough like the
like,
robot. So
yeah, but they were trying to. There was some kind of report that they were trying to kind of make her face more Asian with like technology, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's not cool.
That's weird. That's weird, guys.
Either she does look like the character, or you needed to hire an Asian woman. So you can't try to do sloppy seconds with the AI or whatever. You know.
I did not know that part. That's new information to me.
So at least that was what was reported. I'm pretty sure that was the case, but yeah, but people want Asian representation, absolutely.
Yeah, they do.
So to pretend like people genuinely don't want to see the main characters be Asian people in Japan is silly.
Yeah, and I saw some tweets from Japanese people that were translated into English, complaining about the architecture that was in the trailer because it looked more Chinese than Japanese.
That's an issue.
Yeah.
That's an issue. George Alexopoulos, he also got apparently banned from Ubisoft or whatever, because they asked, you know what I'm talking about?
No, continue.
Oh, because they asked like, what's your favorite part of the Assassin's Creed trailer? And so I think it was to them, or could have been to somebody else, but he got banned for this tweet here. That was the part where you thought it was a good idea to feature a black man committing violence against Asians in 2024. So,
yeah. Hashtag stop Asian hate.
Yeah, hashtag stop Asian hate.
Don't look up those statistics.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they blocked him and hid his comments.
Oh my.
There was another situation that was kind of funny where people were going back and forth in a thread, and someone said playing as a black man murdering tons of Japanese people isn't the hill to die on, guys. And someone said, where did they say he was a murderer? And so there you go. It's just
in the title.
It's in the name. You know, it's not like you know, One Piece when there's pirates and Luffy doesn't want to do anything that the pirates do. Like,
yeah,
we're not gonna murder and you plunder and all those things. Like, yeah, it's kind of seems like you don't know what a pirate is, bro. It's more than just sailing some water looking for treasure. But there's some dark stuff in there, guys. So yeah, they do actually kill people on Assassin's Creed.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Look at us.
I remember one time I was playing and I was downstairs in the living room and my dad was he was on the computer and he had like swiveled around in the chair and he saw that I was, because it was like a mission like to kill some women that were like assassins from like another thing. And so I was like sneaking up and I killed like 5 women in a row and his dad was like, why do you keep killing all these women? What kind of game is this? And I'm like, they're trying to kill me. This is premeditated self-defense.
Yeah. It's funny when they finally pay attention to the things that you do.
Yeah.
I remember we used to have Celebrity Deathmatch. We played it maybe like twice, and Dad's like, you guys cannot play this. Which, by the way, that was an awful game. We probably shouldn't have had it, but because they,
it's a cult classic, you know.
Yeah, I guess. But they, were killing. It was claymation, but a pretty brutal still too. So
did he have a problem with Mortal Kombat though?
you know, parents aren't always consistent in life. I guess definitely not the old ones, because you know we had at least like the first couple. We don't have any like modern ones with like really great graphics, but yeah, we totally played Mortal Kombat, watched the movies.
I mean, I have no memories of playing the old Mortal Kombat.
Oh, you might have been a little baby if you were here existing. Like we were
just have a remote like, here, you can be scorpions.
No, you probably I don't know if you really played it, but we did play the game. Like I got one of those console things. You know, I have with a bunch of old games or whatever, and I was playing with Katrina a little bit, and it started to just come back to her, like the moves. So I don't know how
memories,
yeah, muscle memory. Thing. It is a wonderful thing. So anyway, there's usually agendas attached to this stuff, and that's just the kind of unfortunate thing with our world. But we'll see how the game actually does. If the gameplay is, you know, good, maybe it'll overcome all that stuff. But this idea that if the fans are upset, it's just because the fans are bad and the fans are actually racist, I don't like it, and I don't understand why the Access Media does it. I don't understand why the companies do that, like especially when like writers will be upset at their fans, like when Sandman came out, or the Percy Jackson stuff, and like, oh, we're so disappointed in these fans that are upset about what your characters that you may not being accurately represented. You know, you can't expect people to get so attached to these things, and then you pull a 180 and just be like, oh, never mind, it was no big deal, I only have them on I purchased the memorabilia, you know, with that particular face on it. So yeah, people can get really attached to their fandoms, and they expect them to be a particular way. But yeah, they're just because they don't respond the way that you want them to respond doesn't mean that they're racist, terrible people.
Yeah,
who don't like black people.
And I don't get like the lashing out at fans when they don't like something. Like they're your customers. They're the ones that are gonna buy your product, review your product, play your product. And so just preemptively just lashing out and just being like, oh, well, they're some sort of ist or ick for not responding to this thing that I'm doing, where I'm clearly inserting unneeded diversity and inclusion things into things. That is just, I don't know. I feel like all the media that I really enjoyed as a child, all the modern interpretations of it are just trash.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all these agendas inserted into it when before they wanted to tell a story, and now they want to tell a story and then shoehorn in a political message with it. And I don't know. A lot of the things I used to love as a child are just dead to me. And that's really sad.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Find something new to pass on to our children. But I guess the last thing I want to mention, though, is they're trying to pass it off like, oh, you guys just don't want this person to be black. But it's like, no, why shouldn't you? Like, if people usually get in trouble for not having the proper representation or whatever, why do you just get a pass for not having this person be Japanese?
Yeah.
Why? So it's just like Japanese is not the same thing as black. So why?
Definitely not.
So
definitely not.
Why shouldn't people feel a certain way that this character isn't Japanese when they probably should be Japanese? Because if your message is, well, it's just good that they're not white, be happy that we have a person of color. No, have it be the right person of color.
Yeah.
That's appropriate for the situation. And I'm not saying
I read some things from people that used to work in the Assassin's Creed game stuff, and they said when they were workshopping the idea for the game, originally it had a different story and a different protagonist, but after they left the company, I guess things changed. And so that's it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. I mean, if they wanted to include that historical character, they still could have included him and like had him like help you on missions or something, because there were times when you had to go talk to George Washington, or you had to talk to Leonardo da Vinci, or you interacted with real historical people, but you were yourself a fictional character in this fictional character's bloodline, trying to find the truth and trying to find these artifacts and trying to save the world from destruction and stuff. So if they really wanted to include him, they could have included him in a different way that didn't feel so forced, because he was a real person. He wasn't a real samurai, but yeah, according to historical records, he was about 6'2", and Nobunaga, I think was the guy's name, the lord that was fascinated by his skin when he first saw him. He believed the man was covered in ink, and so he requested that he take off his shirt and wash so that he could see that if it was really his skin or not. And so after that, he was fascinated because the African man, history doesn't record what his actual name is, but they refer to him as Yasuke. And so he came with like Jesuit missionaries. And so Nobunaga was like, hey, can I keep it? Can he stay with me? And so he became his bodyguard because he was fascinated by how tall he was and how dark he was.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say like he tried to take his like hand and write something down, or like the man of ink.
He's like, I know.
Use him like a Sharpie. Like I didn't know exactly where the story was going. Okay, but anyway, yeah, that's all. I guess thank you for coming on and sharing the knowledge of the game. I knew, a little bit. I know you played it, but thanks for explaining the situation and coming on to talk about it. But I'm sorry they're ruining so many things that you love.
Well, there's always the things made by Ninja Dust Publishing.
Yes.
Everyone go to publishing.com to get fantasy novels, historical fiction novels.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. You guys can go to first of all, you guys can find Tina at tinastextportraits.com. She does stream on it's Tuesdays, right?
Yep, Tuesdays and Thursdays on Twitch. Where she will paint live. You guys follow her on YouTube and TikTok. She does show different tutorials, like quick tutorials on how to paint different stuff, and sometimes she goes live on those platforms as well. And you guys can check out, if you're interested in any of the work that's behind her, you guys can go to their website, and she has a ton of little teeny paintings and other paintings you guys can order. She sold a lot of paintings at Motor City Comic Con, so I made this yesterday.
Oh, it's cool. You got a lot of cool stuff. Got a lot of cool stuff on your site. So and her text portraits as well. So go ahead and check out her stuff on our website, and you guys can find out all the ways you can follow her from there.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Tina.
You're welcome.
So anyway, go to blacktnews.com to check out different articles, videos, etc. on the site. If you guys want to support, you guys can leave a donation on the website there, because it does cost to stream and run my website. You guys can also check out different merch that I have available at the store, like this Be Better Not Bitter shirt that I have. I have this I have different mugs, like the You Are Not That Special shirt. Mug, and I do have it in a shirt too. So we're not in pumpkin spice season yet, but you if you want to be prepared, we got those as well. So go ahead, go to blacktnews.com and get your merch. And she mentioned my books. I have 18 that are published. and historical fiction, fantasy, children's chapter books, paranormal romance, all kinds of different things you guys can check out. So go ahead and on the website and find your next new read. Thank you guys. Enjoy your weekend. Don't do anything crazy out there. Be safe. It's a long weekend because we got the holiday, on Monday. So, enjoy it with your loved ones. And I'll see you next week. God bless.